Yes, yes, you are. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. I'm joined in the studio by I'm gonna just say what it is. It's kind of like an intern this week. It's been awesome, man. Blake, how you doing? It's great to be on here. Hopefully, I don't kick the drawer again. Hey, look, we are so excited to have you locked into the show today. It is the day before Thanksgiving. We have so much to be thankful for. What are you thankful for this year?
Really thankful for God, and him just giving me the options in life that he has and watching over my family and everything like that. And thankful for my family for putting up with all my shenanigans, if you will.
Yeah.
And just empowering me to go chase what I want to do.
Dude, I think that's awesome. Everybody who's tuned in today, if you want to call into the show, the number is 601-879-0002, and you can tell us what you're thankful for. If you don't want to call into the show, well, you can go ahead and give us a text. The number is 601-879-5060. Hit me up on that text line. It is moving and grooving. Look, we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming at WYAB.com. If you can't pick us up on the, oh man, we're already getting calls. If you can't pick us up on the radio signal, you can always pick us up on the stream. We really appreciate that. Blake, what's your X account so that people, if they want to follow you on X?
At Blake Barlam on X, or at B Barlam, and then Blake Barlam on Facebook and TikTok.
Awesome. Getting everything set up here. Look, the mission at the Andrew Gosser Show never changes. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You are the saints. And with today being Thanksgiving, I just thought this scripture really hits home. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing. In everything, give thanks for God is good to see all that God is good in you. Look, if we've got a microphone issue or anything like that, we'll just deal with it later. The voice is going out. Show's got to continue on, and we just press. And the thing that we're talking about, first of all, we've got the Tennessee House race. We've got the truck drivers in Mississippi who, if you can't speak English, you're out of here. We've got an update in Ukraine. We have an update in the U.S. House race in Tennessee. Andy Gibson came out with some farm news, and he's going to be holding some events where people can go talk about that. We've got to talk about MGT and how her resignation is really starting to go ahead and cause an issue with some people, because now there are other, you can call them MAGA, you can call them Tea Party, whatever. You're just talking about other conservatives who don't like what's going on with they don't like what's going on with Congress. We're holding stuff up, right? We're having a problem where we're not getting bills through. The Senate's not confirming appointees. It's just absolute disaster. And so the point I'm trying to make there is that if we have more Republicans end up leaving, then we are going to be in trouble, because we're going to be in the minority. They're just going to stop all of Trump's agenda, and it's going to be a mess. To me, like, I don't know how you feel, but this is all on the Republicans in the Congress and the Senate. Do you agree with that?
100%. We have this golden opportunity where we have President Trump in the White House, Republican-controlled House of Representatives, Republican-controlled Senate, and a conservative Supreme Court. This is an opportunity that we don't get often, especially not with President Trump at the helm in a second term, where he knows what he's doing and he has a much better administration and chief of staff put in place. And Congress has codified, outside of the executive orders they codified in the big, beautiful bill, I think Congress has codified about 5 of his executive orders outside of that. They haven't codified his executive order on election integrity. They haven't codified many of his like prescription drug executive orders. And I think that's a grotesque failure on Congress's part, because people, whenever they go vote in the midterms, they're gonna think that Trump hasn't done anything, so they're gonna vote for Democrats. When reality is that Congress hasn't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
Congress doesn't get to work. The SAVE Act has been something that Congress has been talking about since 2024, even before the election, and that will require proof of citizenship to vote in our elections, in federal elections. Why hasn't Mike Johnson put that on the floor?
You truly got to wonder what is going on inside the House.
What is the motivations for not putting it on the floor? Seriously, and it makes you wonder what really is going on behind the scenes of everything.
Yeah.
Are they trying to usurp President Trump? Are they trying to just drag their feet until the midterms, and then, Democrat-controlled House, now we can't do anything, and then they get put back on defense? What is it going to take for Republicans to put themselves on offense? That's what the American people want.
I've been asking that since 2011, and it just seems like, we got to make sure we maintain the status quo. We got to make sure we don't ripple the water. And that's a real concern. The comments are coming in. SK podcast calling and saying, eliminate the filibuster. What up, Blake?
Absolutely. So, and that's another good thing is, the only reason that John Thune has the Senate majority seat is because President Trump endorsed him for the seat after Rick Scott didn't get enough votes. So Leader Thune owes a lot of his political success right now to Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
We already know that Democrats are going to end the filibuster whenever they eventually gain power back.
Yep.
And they're going to try to end the Electoral College. They're going to try to pack the Supreme Court, and they're going to do a whole bunch of other stuff that is going to be terrible for this nation, worse than what they did in the last 4 years. Why wait? And if you're going to keep the filibuster in place, maybe create some laws that will prevent them from doing all that heinous stuff whenever they do get back in power.
You would think that the Republicans would see the writing on the wall. You would think that they could see everything that is coming down the pipe, but they don't. It just seems like,
I think they do, but they just don't care.
You think they're making just too much money from their stock deals and all that kind of stuff?
They don't care. And another thing that it just makes no sense to me is we saw what happened in New York. You know who went on offense in New York City? Zoran Mamdani.
Yep.
The American people look for that energy for someone who's a go-getter. That is the American spirit in a nutshell. Is someone who is a fighter and someone who is willing to put in the work and go on offense. The American people have never been people to lay back and play defense. They've always been on offense. The American people attract to that. That is why whenever Trump and Doge was at its height, whenever they were cutting all that funding,
mm-hmm.
That's when Trump was most popular in his second term so far. But as the 100 days of Doge, left because, they can only be in power for so long because they're temporary government employees.
Yep.
You've seen Trump's popularity go down because Congress is going to have to pick that back up. Well, it's like asking it to be cold in summer here. It's just not going to happen.
And look, I'm 53. I know I'm no spring chicken, but I am not truly in the old man group. When you have senators like Mitch McConnell, God bless him. I don't wish ill will on everybody, and I know that there are people who get really passionate. I just want him gone. I don't wish any ill will on anybody, but he needs to go. Chuck Schumer needs to go. All of these boomers who have been in Congress their entire life. Chuck Schumer's been in Congress since 1978.
My parents were 5.
Dude, I think I was 6. So, the whole thing with that is we've got to do something to get these people out who have just spent decades entrenching themselves with their ideas. And what really, it doesn't affect conservatives like you and I, Blake, who study this and everything. But for those who are looking on the outside in, the Democrats have laid these plans out and just let that sit there and grow organically,
Yep.
really slowly. They didn't move too quick because anytime you move quick in DC, look what happens with Doge. People freak out.
Yeah.
Everybody loses their head. I got Brother Rick. Man, you guys are just blowing up the text line. Brother Rick goes, 1 in 10 Mandami voters voted for Trump. He was also the only one running that said he wouldn't go to Israel. And we've got all
That's
sorts.
a whole nother topic, but yeah.
Whew. You know, we do that right before Christmas. When
Yeah.
you're on Christmas break, we'll get Blake Bartlam in here. Maybe we'll get a couple other people. And
Have that discussion.
we will have the true Israel discussion because for me, as someone who reads the Word, you know, went to school to study it, there are two really big schools of thought there. One is just blind faith, trust Israel, and then the other group like, well, let's wait a minute. And you know, it does say that God will curse who Abraham once cursed, but these brothers ain't Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, and number two, they're not doing what God says to do. And there are so many examples in the Bible where the Lord has put Israel into bondage, into slave, let them run around the wilderness for forever. He brought in the Assyrians to wipe out Jerusalem. I mean, God goes ahead and does that. But it's one of those things where is Israel really doing that now? I mean, it just seems everywhere we look, there's just so much more anger and anxiety. And we've got stories about that today. Dogfish is checking in saying, end the filibuster, term limits, yes. Congress, stock trading, no. Tax-free pensions for congressmen, no.
Yeah, that's another thing. I had no idea until Marjorie Taylor Greene announced she's going to be resigning from Congress. That I had no idea that they get, if you stay in for 5 years, you get a lifetime pension of like $125,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Well, that's just that just proves that Congress' motivation for the last how many ever years has just been to serve themselves. They just want to line their pockets like that. You're telling me you need 100 because you represented. I put that in air quotes because they haven't really done that in a long time. $125,000 a year, just sit at your house. That's worse than food stamps.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And the thing about it is that because we've been so lackadaisical, I think they put that back in like the 80s.
Yeah.
But it was only 80,000, and they just slowly, again, increment it. They bury it in a 6,000-page bill. If you remember when President Trump originally put out that bill at the beginning of his term, and everybody got it and threw it into Grok, and we found all the bad stuff, and all of a sudden they were like, holy cow. We need to start putting together a team of people who looks at every bill that is going through not just the United States House or the United States Senate, but every state house, every county ordinance.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that, you know, I've started talking to people, and people have talked to me about something doing, especially here in the state. I remember coming on one time talking about the Rhino Removal Project, and that's something that we have with each of our state chapters. But I think that is something we should do. And I do remember that bill. I remember talking about it was the CR initially.
Yep.
And it was like 1,000 pages. And then because of Doge and everything, we got it down to about 132, I think it was.
Wow.
That's crazy. 900 pages of bills.
Yep. It is absolutely insane. The clock says we need to take our first break. We are off and running on the Andrew Gosser Show. I got Blake Bartlam in the studio with me. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and it's just going to get spicier. Hey, what's going on? We're off the air right now.
Yeah, I know. It's Chris. Hey, let me correct you on the Marjorie Taylor Greene retirement. I had to correct Tim on this.
Uh-huh.
He's not getting paid $120,000 a year or anything in a pension. But she's getting in a pension. She's in the same federal system that I was in. Now they get a different percentage based on a certain number of years, but she's going to get 1.7% of her annual salary times the number of years of service, which would be 5. Her care taxes monthly check would be about $13,000 a year. She gets about $1,230 per month. Is going to be her retirement check. They don't retire once they're vested. They can draw in the retirement, but it's not that they're vested and they get their salary that they get in the House or the Senate, that amount for the rest of their lives. They have to do the same thing I did, at least 20 years, have to be a certain age, all of those things. Now, she does have her thrift savings plan that she does get money out of, and however much money that she put in that, and if she invested wisely in 5 years, probably a couple $100,000 in that. But yeah, she's only getting about $1,235 a month.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, I really appreciate that, man. We're gonna let you go. We're in the break. I'm training Blake up, but thank you for the data, brother. I appreciate it.
We'll correct ourselves on
I knew you guys went to break. That's why I wanted to give you the details in there. But it is that, even, I hate to admit it, even Gerard Gilbert figured it out.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
I need to grab some caffeine.
Okay. Here, you want to put it on the speaker so I can know if it's got to go back on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. So much to talk to. We had Brother Chris call in during the break and talk about NGT's future congressional payout. I think Chris said she's going to get 1.7% of her pay for how many years she's actually been in. So whatever 1.7% of her pay is times 5, that's what she's going to get. I'm genuinely more concerned about if this causes a cascading effect where Republicans lose control in the House. It might be a good thing in that a bunch of people just say no, and then you'll open up the primary for next year, and hopefully we can get in there and get some stuff done. There's just people making all sorts of great comments. Make Sharia law illegal. There are many people inside the state of Mississippi right now, ladies and gentlemen, who are working to make this happen, but they cannot do it alone. They need everybody in this listening audience, and they need you to go out and not only say, yes, we want this, but to go to your circle of friends. And if you do not know who your state rep and state senator are, you should. You really should, because these state reps and state senators, I know many of them. There are some that are they're just jerks. And I'm not going to name any names, but they're just jerks. And so you can't go there. But if you know your state rep, if you know your state senator, if you know other state reps and state senators, figure out who that is. Again, just Google Mississippi Election Day, and you type in your little zip code and it tells you who it is. And they give you a phone number and email. Don't email. Give them a call. Go ask to see them and explain to them how important it is that Sharia law needs to be banned. And I've got some really good examples here. I gave a presentation back in 2024. It was called "The Dirty Lie from the Pit of Hell: The Separation of Church and State." And I can go through and talk about all the different things that were done there. I can go really in depth into the lemon law for those of you who don't know what the lemon test is. But I do want to read some quotes from you. The first and almost the only book deserving of universal attention is the Bible. John Quincy Adams. Resistance to tyranny becomes the Christian and societal duty of each individual. Continue steadfast and, with a proper sense of your dependence on God, notably defend those rights which heaven gave, and no man ought to take from us. John Hancock. As to Jesus of Nazareth, my opinion, whom you particularly desire, the system of morals and his religion, as he left them to us, is the best the world has ever saw and likely to ever see. Benjamin Franklin. Without morals, a republic cannot subsist. Without morals, the republic cannot subsist any length of time. They, therefore, who are decrying the Christian religion, whose morality is sublime to the pure and which ensures the good eternal happiness, are undermining the solid foundation of morals, the best security for the duration of free government. Charles Carroll. These are all founding fathers who are like the left tried to say, oh, they were all deists. They didn't believe in. No, it's right here. But when we don't teach that stuff in school, the kids don't learn.
I mean, why do you think that we've had such cultural, mayhem these last 20 years or so? You see it in the mental health numbers, you see it in the obesity numbers. Whenever society becomes godless, it goes off the rails. And that's we've clearly seen that. I mean, why in the world do we have litter boxes in the bathrooms at Northwest Rankin? If you want, just to be honest with you,
so you have actually seen a litter box in Northwest?
The year before I got to school there was one. Yeah, and that was a pretty controversial story we had for a while.
People think that we're just making this stuff up. I almost had to hit the Deedle button. Almost.
But that's just a local example of this is what happens whenever society becomes godless and you start to worship feelings and you start to worship yourself and you start to worship ideas instead of worshiping God. That is exactly what happens.
I completely agree. And it takes work. It's just not something that can say, oh, this is what I'm going to do now. And, we're going to go down this route. But the truth of the matter is that if we turn away from God, something else is going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Europe has turned away from God. Look is what is happening in France, England, Spain. But where you don't see it? Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia.
Mm-hmm.
They've completely shut that down, and we can do the same thing. Oh, Dogfish, I'm not reading that. So let's talk about some other stories here. The great thing about Dogfish is he's going to let it rip and tell you just the way he sees it. So we have the story coming from Tennessee. Congressman Tim Burchett is out there. He's arguably the best congressman in the House.
I think him, Anna Paulina Luna, and then Lauren Boebert, those are probably your top three right now.
Yeah. The thing about it is that when we only have 3 congressmen who are doing this, then there's 413.
438.
438. Thank you for correcting me.
Or,
Democrats' chances of flipping Republican seat in Tennessee just got a huge boost. This is coming from Newsweek. The Republican and Democrat contenders for the Tennessee 7th District are locked in a dead heat, according to a new poll. An unexpected shift in a seat, President Trump won by 22 points. Dude, if most people, if you got 22 points, you don't even go out and knock on doors, fundraise.
No.
You just go out and do whatever.
Yeah.
The Emerson College Hill poll survey released the final day of in-person early voting shows Republican Matt Van Epps is leading Democrat Afton Ben 48%, 48% to 46% among likely voters, with 5% undecided and 2% backing third-party candidates. Oh, that's going to be brutal. So that'll automatically go to a runoff too, because I think Tennessee has the law just like Mississippi.
If you don't get the 50%, it has to go to a runoff.
Yep. And so they're going to have a special election there.
And that's what we were talking about last segment is just people don't feel motivated to go vote for Republicans because Republicans haven't done anything.
Nope.
They don't do a single thing in Congress, and then they go, stand with President Trump. No, you don't. Where's your legislation to codify as executive orders? That's what the American people voted for in 2024. Yep. They didn't vote for the Republican establishment of old, like the Bushes and the Cheneys of the world. No, they voted for President Trump and his policies and going on offense.
There's only 2 people who have put in legislation to codify President Trump's executive orders. Only 2 that I know of. Tim Burchett and MTG. And hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Mm-hmm.
MTG is going to go out and do what she does. And whether you like her or dislike her, she feels like she's been wronged, and she's just going to go out and do her own thing. Do I support her decision to leave Congress? I wish she didn't, but that's her decision. Now, if she goes out and starts completely slamming and breaking down things that need to be broken down, I'm for it. But if she just starts tearing down the brand, well, then I'm against it.
I'm afraid that she's already starting to tear down the brand this morning. I mean, you can go look at her Twitter feed. It's appalling, but
my goodness.
Yeah. But well, that's a subject for another day.
Yep. Look, we got to take our second commercial time out right here on the Andrew Gosser Show. But I'm telling you this, you do not want to miss the 11 o'clock hour. It's going to be good. It's something that you've heard before. It will warm your heart. It will make you happy, happy, happy. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show with Blake Bartlam, tuning in here to 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, we're back at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. I realize I'm kind of out of the camera frame, but we got Brother Blake learning the board. It's awesome. No technical errors. Look, we've absolutely got to talk about Mississippi because, and this is coming from Magnolia Tribune, Jeremy Pitari, and you know, I love Magnolia Tribune. I don't agree with everything that they say, but they're a good news outlet, and I think the people over there are people of integrity. Even if we don't agree all the time, I don't have a bad thing to say about Magnolia Tribune.
And it's important to talk local. That's one thing I know you pride the show on is talking local.
Yep. And this is just coming from the article. The inability to speak or read English effectively creates safety issues for the general public and undercuts pay for American citizens. Department or DPS Commissioner Sean Tyndall says. And it's true. We saw the two horrible fatality accidents coming from people who didn't even really go get a CDL. And by the way, I am going to go back to my prior elected position of highway commissioner, where I had all my, I call them my troops, but my employees, we had to have CDLs because we had big trucks plowing snow. And being able to speak English is absolutely critical. Understanding the speeds, the neighborhoods, all that kind of stuff. You have to have English in your brain to go do that. That doesn't mean that you can't speak other languages.
Yeah.
But if you get pulled over by a highway patrol, state trooper, sheriff, whatever, you better be speaking English. What are your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right. And it's a clear safety hazard. And unfortunately, that has not just been proven through like a study, that has been proven with real life incidents. As you have had multiple people die and families get destroyed because you have truck drivers that can't read the signs on the road and can't speak or read English. It's horrible. And like, why would we do that? And it's because it's cheaper labor. And so you bring in all these foreign workers, they work for cheaper. And then you wind up having American citizens who just want to make an honest living get that wage undercut because you have people coming in who are willing to work for practically nothing, but it endangers people.
Yep. And the thing about it is who is it really hurting? The poor populations, right? It's not hurting the white collars.
Yeah.
And who
it benefits the white collar and it hurts the lower class.
And look, if Clay was here, he would say it's hurting the black population. Brother William, I'm pointing right at the phone right now. I know you're out there listening. That is what illegal immigration does to the black population, because these illegal aliens come in, they'll work for $10 an hour when you know the average going rate for that job is 21.
And that's what they made whenever President Trump had the debate with Kamala Harris. They made fun of him because they said that illegal immigrants come in and take black jobs and Hispanic jobs. I'm like, well, what's a black job? Jobs that African Americans work. That can be anything.
Yep.
But it's very clear that a lot of these jobs that African Americans typically have been undercut by illegal immigrants. That's not racist or anything. It's just what it is.
Yep.
And it's a shame that people let that go on for so long. And thankfully, we're starting to hopefully fix that. Thanks to people like President Trump and then Safety Commissioner. And then also I know Shad White's been talking that a lot here in the state as well.
Yep. As of Monday, Tyndall told the Magnolia Tribune that about 317 commercial truck drivers have had their commercial licenses revoked due to a violation of those regulations since July, a majority of which have been found in the past 2 months.
Is that just in the state of Mississippi?
Yep.
And imagine what it's like in a place like California or New York or Illinois, where you're from. And that's just Mississippi.
That's thousands, tens of thousands. And that number probably is a lot higher. It's just, with Mississippi, we have a smaller government. We don't have the type of enforcement, law enforcement people out there looking for this. We need to get it happen. And I think that perfectly falls into this segue right here, because Mississippi is a small state, but Maryland is a big state. And ladies and gentlemen, they are in trouble. This is coming from ABC 7 News, WJLA out of Maryland. And you're like, Andy, Why are you bringing Maryland into this? You'll see right now. 3, 2, 1.
Well, 7 News is learning more about the impact of rising housing prices on Maryland's economy. Kelly Lynn is live in Laurel to break down the findings of a new report that shows millions of people are leaving the state to move to more affordable areas.
That's right. Before the pandemic, we saw wealthier, older residents leaving the state of Maryland to go to other states, but that is changing. I want to go to that 78-page state report because it does provide the details that you need to know. It shows that between 2010 and 2023, about 2.3 million residents left the state, and only 2 million moved into the state during the same time period, many of them going to states like Florida, Pennsylvania, the Carolinas, Texas, Virginia, and Delaware. Before the pandemic, high-income retirees were leaving Maryland to get to a state that offered a better climate and tax savings, but now there's been an increase in younger and lower to middle-income residents leaving the state. The researchers believe that housing affordability and cost of living are the primary factors influencing the migration trend. Maryland renter Rachel Rollins has considered relocating to another state because of the high housing costs.
I am contemplating whether I'm going to move further out, just to be able to take advantage of some of the housing, more affordable housing that they may offer.
And in September, Maryland Governor Wes Moore did sign an executive order to increase the amount of affordable housing in the state. It calls for improving the use of state-owned land as well as speeding up the permitting process and creating a new state housing ombudsman. If you'd like to read more about that, you can go to our homepage. Live in Laurel, Kelly Lynn, 7 News.
Go to website.
And right there completely tells you all you need to know. 2.4 million people left Maryland and 2 million have come in. So that's a net loss of 400,000 citizens. That's number one. But number two, 2.4 million people leaving.
That's like the state of Mississippi.
It's the state of Mississippi saying, we're out, deuces. And when you sit there and you look at that, Mississippi should be having a major influx of people.
Mhm.
And it is important. And I say this all the time. I'm an Illinois refugee. I ain't bringing none of that nonsense down from Chicago to Mississippi. Blake, I'm telling you, I have very liberal friends who are experiencing the suck that is Illinois.
Yeah.
And they're like, should I come to Mississippi? And look at me. I was like this, Eric, you don't want to come to Mississippi. You have to go to church on Sunday. What, are you serious? I'm like, yep. All the stores are shut. No business. You do not want to come here. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, go to New York, go to Mississippi, or go to Minnesota, go to Wisconsin. And he ended up going Michigan. We do not want people like that here. And people are like, Andy, you lied to him. No, I didn't lie to him. I just told him that we go to church on Sundays and stores are closed, which they are. Chick-fil-A closed on Sunday.
Yeah.
I didn't lie. And we need that kind of effort here to bring in people who really understand the Constitution, have a biblical worldview, like Jameson Haygood used to say. And by the way, I haven't talked about Jameson in a while, but I hope he's doing well. Love to catch up with you sometime, brother. Thanks for all you do. And you know, we got time for one more story. And let's grab
And while you're doing that, I mean, that many people leaving the state, you know, just because of housing, in a sense, it's like that is a huge issue right now. And a lot of especially in states like Maryland and Illinois, New York and California, it's because of the regulations. That's why a single home hasn't been built since those fires in California. Not a single home has been rebuilt.
That's just crazy.
That is, and I don't even know if a permit has been approved yet for that.
I mean, the Palisade fires happened, what, almost a year ago now?
They started before Trump was even inaugurated.
So you think about all these families, where are they living?
That's a good question. Really good question.
And Palisades were like considered really nice area.
Yeah. And imagine how expensive it's going to be once they finally get those houses built. I mean, we might have kicked the curb by them. I mean, at this rate. So just think of like, that's, But don't worry, Gavin Newsom's fighting on social media for you. Don't worry, he's a real good guy.
I'll tell you what, salute to all those Facebook warriors with their golden mice and golden keyboard clusters on their ribbon rack, because I see those people out there and I'm just like, I don't want nothing to do. I don't want to fight the war on Facebook and social media. I've watched too many. We both know there are been conservatives who thought for sure they were going to win because they were winning the war on Facebook. And guess what? Facebook is not it. I'm almost to the point with when I'm talking to candidates, and you need a social media presence.
Yeah.
But if you're not out there, hey, I'm here running for, and you're not meeting people, and not just right before the election, you need to start years in advance so that you have all these good relationships. So not only will they vote for you, but they'll tell their friends to vote for you, and their family to vote for you, and then they'll write you a check.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell this story, and then we got to hit the last break. But when I was running for county supervisor in Illinois, I had been walking for different candidates for over 2 years, and I had knocked on, not exaggerating, over 7,000 doors.
Wow.
One time, and I probably hit a lot of those houses 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
And when I finally said, you know what, I'm going to be a county supervisor, I knocked on this door, and this lady got so excited. She's like, yeah, I'm going to vote for you. Put a big sign in my yard. She didn't want the little dinky yard sign. I put a 4x4 right there. It's just out there. She goes, wait right here. And she came back to the door, and she gave me a check for my campaign.
Wow.
How much do you think that check was for?
A couple hundred, maybe. Lower. Oh, higher? 1,000? 2,000? You don't have to tell me. 5,000?
$5,000.
Goodness. How many years ago was that?
2013.
Probably like $7,000 today. Maybe not that much. Man, that's a lot.
The coolest thing about that is she ran that entire neighborhood, and my opponent was like really well liked there, very well like Republic or Democrat. I was running in a Democrat district as a pro-life Tea Party conservative, and it was pretty incredible. We got to take a break. We got to take a break because we're going to get up to the top of the hour, and the next hour we are going to have a really awesome surprise. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show with Blake Bartlum. We will be right back.
Hams and prime rib that melts in your mouth. They also offer amazing casseroles and desserts that'll have everybody asking for seconds or thirds. And about those holiday gatherings, don't stress it. Their private rooms can host anywhere from 5 to 100 of your nearest and dearest friends, ensuring your party is as special as the occasion. Make your holidays hassle-free and delicious at or with the Manship.
Have you been injured through no fault of your own? Do you know your rights? Don Evans does. Do you really believe that the insurance company would disclose all information to you? Don Evans will make sure that you are fully informed. It costs nothing to discuss your case. From car wrecks to malpractice, Don Evans will make you and your family whole again. Don Evans won't ever charge unless he collects for you. Call Don for a free, no-obligation consultation at 601-969-2006. Grizz Nation, your Memphis Grizzlies are back home on Friday, December 5th to take on the Los Angeles Clippers. Be here for the 7 p.m. tip-off as your Grizzlies defend the home court against James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers. Get to FedEx Forum early for Robin Hood City Night, with the first 5,000 fans getting City Edition sunglasses. Tickets are available online at Grizzlies.com or in person at the FedEx Forum box office in Memphis.
Attention homeowners and business owners. Complete Exteriors is now Elite Roofing and Gutters. Are your roof and gutters storm ready? The folks at Elite are your local experts in storm protection. Now is the time for an inspection and for proactive solutions that ensure your roof and gutters can withstand any storm. Get up to a possible $250 rebate on a new roofing system for all active military, veterans, and retirees. Online at EliteRoofer.com.
I like my insurance like I like my burrito, with everything rolled into one. Was in a state of craving amigo, so my agent showed me how it's done. He wrapped up my auto, my home, and my life. The discounts I'm getting are great. Everything good right there on one plate. Head to a better state, State Farm.
To keep more of your money in your pocket, call John Dorsa at 978-2302.
And we are back, at the Andrew Gosser Show right here at 103.9 WYAB. Look, the first hour is in the can. Who used to say that all the time back in the day? If you know, you know. But if you remember, that same man who used to say another hour is in the can also had a very special Thanksgiving Day message. And in the next hour, we're going to go ahead and roll back the years a little bit. And we are going to get some wisdom from that dude. And I just hope you all stay tuned for that. It's important that we do not forget our history. Because those who forget their history, yep, they're doomed to repeat it. We've got such a long way to go. We got a whole hour coming up with Brother Blake. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. Blake, what's up for your Thanksgiving Day plans, man?
I think we're just me, my mom, and my dad. I think we're just gonna eat at the house and maybe watch a little football. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited. I like food. So
yeah, yep. We we at the BA Farm, we've got a bunch of fresh turkeys. And Dogfish is asking, am I doing a turkey drop? No, man, I'm not doing a turkey drop. I'm going to go out there and just go kill some turkeys. and then we are going to eat the freshest turkey in Mississippi. Delicious. We do got a few more of them, man. So we'll see. Okay. It seems like right at the end, people come up and say, hey, you got any turkey? And I'm like, yeah, but it's one of those things where
that's a markup.
It is a markup. And again, our stuff we do out on the pasture. They're out there roaming around, doing everything. And, our animals at the BA Farm, they have many, many good days. But in the end, they have that one bad day. And you know what? They never see it coming. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We'll be right back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB.
Prosecutors Association. He said he was willing to do it after he couldn't find anybody else to take on this case. And in a memo today, they're saying Scandalakis, this new prosecutor, cites a lack of time and
Hey, brother Chase, I see you, my man. It's great to have you checked in, man. I hope married life's treating you well. So it's Second Amendment turkey drop? Absolute. Well, no, dude, we don't use the Second Amendment turkey drop. Second Amendment pig drop.
CBS News Minnesota reporter
We use the Second Amendment pig for pigs. For our sheep, we just send them to the processor. Chickens, we have a kill cone. We just hang the chickens upside down, pull their neck out the bottom, and they're gone so fast, and no pain. You know, there's so many people out there who they do these they do these chicken kills, and they don't know what the heck they're doing, but they end up causing a lot of distress to the animal, and that could cause a more chewy turkey. And we just do not want that. We don't want chewy turkey. We want luscious, succulent turkey. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, extra garlic and pepper, and maybe a little bit of cayenne pepper. Brother Chase, that's awesome. Beyond blessed. Didn't know marriage could be so good. Dude, it only gets better, man. And you've got a beautiful wife. You guys are going to have a beautiful family. Your mom and dad are awesome. It's just good stuff. It's just good stuff. We're going to go ahead and get off here for a little bit, and we're going to enjoy this top of the hour commercial break. But when we get back, EIB.
Save on new appliances at Best Buy.
Yes, yes, you are. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show. We all love Thanksgiving. And there was a man who used to talk about Thanksgiving all the time. And he is no longer here with us. And I realize I am taking an extreme career risk, but let's do it.
Now, the story of the Pilgrims begins in the early part of the 17th century. The Church of England under King James I was persecuting anyone and everybody who did not recognize the church's absolute civil and spiritual authority, actually the state. Now, those who challenged the ecclesiastical authority and those who believed strongly in freedom of worship were hunted down. It's in England in the 1600s. They were hunted down, they were imprisoned, sometimes executed for what they believed. So a group of separatists, people that didn't want any part of this, fled first to Holland. They liked wooden shoes and cheese. They established a community. They were there for 11 years. After 11 years, about 40 of these separatists who liked wooden shoes and cheese agreed to make a perilous journey to the New World. They had heard about it. Some new exciting place hadn't been developed. They knew that they were going to face hardship. Hardship like you and I don't know. And I'm not preaching to you. I'm just telling you, we don't know the hardship these people endured. We can't. We are way too advanced now. People who lived in the 1600s would not believe life today. Try to explain flight, jet travel. They wouldn't understand it. They knew they were facing hardship. But paramount importance to them was living freely and worshiping God according to the dictates of their own consciences, their own beliefs. That's what they were denied the freedom to do in England. So, August 1st, 1620, the Mayflower set sail. There were a total of 102 passengers, including 40 of these separatists, the Pilgrims. There were just 40 of them. They were led by a man named William Bradford. Remember his name. On the journey across the Atlantic, you talk about something that had to be frightening and scary. The Mayflower was not much bigger than a 50-foot boat, 102 people on it. On the journey, William Bradford set up an agreement, a contract, if you will, that established just and equal laws for all members, all 40 members of this pilgrim community. Didn't matter what their religious beliefs were. These were the laws they were all agreeing to live by. Now, where did these laws, these ideas come from? We're talking about the Mayflower Compact is what Bradford wrote. The Mayflower Compact derived from the Bible. The Pilgrims were a people completely steeped in the Bible, Old and New Testaments. They were a devoutly religious people. No matter what else is said about them, and even that is denied, they were devoutly religious. They looked to the ancient Israelites for much of their example, and because of the biblical precedent set forth in Scripture, they never doubted, because of their faith in God, that their experiment would work. They never doubted they would get to the New World. They never doubted that once they got there, they would thrive. The journey was long. It was arduous. It was dangerous. And when they finally landed, when the Pilgrims finally landed in New England in November, according to William Bradford's detailed journal, They found a cold, barren, desolate wilderness. Imagine New England, as it exists today, as nothing but rocks, forest, undeveloped nature in November and getting colder. There were no friends to greet. There was no shelter of any kind other than what, hiding under a tree. There was nothing, folks. It was desolate. There were no hotels. There were no inns. There were no places to clean up. There were no houses. This was real hardship. The sacrifice that they had made for the freedom to worship was just beginning. During that first winter, remember they arrive in November, during that first winter, half of them, including William Bradford's own wife, died of starvation, of sickness, exposure to the elements. Now we're getting close to what you were taught in school. When spring finally came, and by the way, writing that doesn't do it justice. Spring didn't just finally came. It was a survival. It was an act of survival that you and I cannot possibly relate to or understand. American Special Forces can. Military people who've been trained can understand what the Pilgrims were. You and I can't. We've never done anything first winter in the New World. They survived it. Spring finally came. They did meet the Indians, the Native Americans who were there, who did help them in planting corn and fishing for cod. They showed them where the beavers were so the beavers could be skinned for coats, other things. You animal rights people are not going to like some of this story, but it happened. But even at this, even with this degree of assistance from the Indians and Native Americans, there wasn't any prosperity yet. They had the Mayflower Compact. They had these laws they were living by, but there was no prosperity yet. I wonder why. Now, this is important to understand here, folks, because this is where modern American history lessons end, with the Indians teaching the Pilgrims how to eat, how to fish, how to skin beavers and all that. That's where it ends. And that's the feel-good story, but that doesn't even get close to the true story. Thanksgiving is actually explained in some textbooks as a holiday for which the Pilgrims gave thanks to the Indians for saving their lives. It wasn't that. That happened, but Thanksgiving was a devout expression of gratitude. The Pilgrims to God for their survival and everything that was a part of it. Now, here's the part that has been omitted. The original contract the Pilgrims entered into in Holland, they had sponsors. They didn't have the money to do this on their own. They had sponsors. There were merchant sponsors in London and in Holland. And these merchant sponsors demanded that everything that the Pilgrims produced in the New World would go into a common store, a single bank, if you will. And that each member of the Pilgrim community was entitled to one share. So everybody had an equal share of whatever was in that bank. All of the land they cleared, all of the houses they built belonged to that bank, to the community as well. And they were going to distribute it equally because they were going to be fair. So all of the land that they cleared and all the houses they built belonged to everybody, belonged to the community, belonged to the bank, belonged to the common store. Nobody owned anything. They just had an equal share in it. It was a commune. The Pilgrims established a commune, essentially. Forerunner of the communes we saw in the 60s and 70s out in California. They even had their own organic vegetables, by the way. Yep, the Pilgrims, forerunners in organic vegetables. Of course, what else could there be? No such thing as processed anything back then. Now, William Bradford, who had become the governor of the colony because he was the leader, recognized that this wasn't going to work. This was costly and destructive, and it just wasn't working. It was collectivism. It was socialism. It wasn't working. That first winter had taken a lot of lives. The manpower was greatly reduced. So William Bradford decided to take bold action, which I will describe when we get back. William Bradford, the governor of the...
We'll take our commercial break here. I want to make sure I honor the break times, but what Rush did, reaching out and telling the story of Thanksgiving, not just to America, but the world, was something that I looked forward to. I can remember listening to the Thanksgiving Day message when I was overseas in Afghanistan, deployed. I can remember listening to it when I was deployed in the Navy. And we miss Rush. And it's not one of those things where we always want to just go ahead and cut and paste his stuff. We have our own radio show to go, but sometimes, once or twice a year, it's good to hear from Maha Rushy. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on WYAB. We will be right back.
greatly reduced. So get back. William Bradford, the governor of the... Bradford decided to scrub it. He threw it out and took bold action. He assigned a plot of land to each family. Every family was given it permanently, what Bradford in years. And I'll tell you what Bradford wrote and how they fixed it when we get back after this. So William Bradford, after putting everybody in a common store, the Mayflower Compact, they wanted to be fair. They wanted everybody to have one common share of stock in everything that happened that the Pilgrims produced, and it bombed. It didn't work. There was no prosperity. There was no creativity because there was no incentive. Here's what Bradford wrote about the failure. For this community, so far as it was found to breed much confusion and discontent. They were not happy, in other words. This community was found to breed much confusion and discontent and retard much employment that would have been to their benefit and comfort. In other words, nobody worked. The way they set it up killed and discouraged work. There was no need. For young men that were most able and fit for labor and service, sat around and did nothing, should spend their time and strength to work for other men's wives and children without being paid for it. They said, why do that? So they didn't. It was thought to be injustice. Why should you work for other people when you can't work for yourself? What's the point? So you hear what he was saying here, folks? The Pilgrims found that people could not be expected to do their best work without some incentive. So what did they try? What did Bradford's Pilgrim community try next? They unharnessed the power of free enterprise. They invoked capitalism, the principle of private property, all the way back in the 1400s. It was incredible. Every family was assigned its own plot of land, and they could do with it whatever they wanted to do. Bradford wrote, this had very good success, for it made all hands industrious, so as much more corn was planted than otherwise would have been. So when profit was introduced, when the opportunity to prosper was introduced, it went gangbusters. That, my friends, is the essence of the true story of Thanksgiving. This is where it gets really good. If you're laboring under the misconception that I was taught in school, they set up trading posts. They exchanged goods with the Indians after they had enjoyed this prosperity. It was not the Indians that brought them prosperity, and it's not said to insult anybody. The Indians assisted them on their arrival, undeniably. But what led to prosperity for these original settlers was a discovery that the common scaled socialism didn't work when they introduced what turns out to be capitalism. They didn't have the name for it, but turned loose individual incentive. Keep what you produce, sell what you don't need. They went crazy. This is not something they were taught by anybody but self-experience. It was not the Indians. None of this is said to put anybody down. Don't misunderstand. The Indians did a lot of things that helped them, which I'll get to in just a second, but it was their own industriousness. They set up trading posts. They exchanged goods with the Indians. They sold stuff to them. And those profits allowed them to pay off the debts of their sponsors in London and in Holland. And you know what? The success of that colony, after they had abandoned socialism and tried what was essentially capitalism, the word spread throughout the old world of this massive amount of prosperity that was there for the taking in the new world. And guess what happened? The new world was flooded with new arrivals. The success and the prosperity of the Plymouth settlement attracted more Europeans and began what came to be known as the Great Puritan Migration. And all it took was prosperity and the word spreading across the Atlantic Ocean of how there was prosperity and it was there for the taking. All you had to do was get there and give it a shot. The lesson is, the true story of Thanksgiving is that William Bradford and his Pilgrim community were thanking God for the blessings on their community after the first miserable winter of a documented failure brought on by their attempt at fairness and equality, which was socialism. It didn't work. Only when they abandoned it did it work. And I need to say again, because I don't want people to be misunderstood, get noses out of joint. The Native Americans, the indigenous peoples, the Injuns, whatever you want to call them, they were of considerable assistance, and they were friendly when the Pilgrims arrived. They had little, if anything, to do with the prosperity that occurred, because that was the result of Bradford and the Pilgrim leadership deciding to change their structure according to the Mayflower Compact. Now, the Indians assisted, naturally, I can't deny it. I mean, they taught them how to fish and this kind of thing that they didn't know how to do, and that led them to be productive, undeniably so. But it was the Pilgrim community itself which experienced this massive prosperity, the word of which spread all the way back to the Old World, Europe, across the Atlantic Ocean. Now, I mentioned earlier that the Federalist has a story on all this. And in it, they describe much of what we did in the second book that dealt with this, the children's book, Rush Revere and the Brave Pilgrims. And that book goes into great detail about how the Indians did provide assistance and what kind of assistance it was, how valuable it was, and how crucial it was. And in Rush Revere and the Brave Pilgrims, we focus on a Native American by the name of Squanto. Now, as I told you, during that first winter, 1620, only 44 of the original 102 Pilgrims survived. They had an elected governor by the name of John Carver. And it was an Indian by the name of Squanto who came to their rescue. And this is, as I say, explored in great detail in Rush Revere and the Brave Pilgrims. Now, Squanto was no ordinary native. Early settlers in 1610 captured him and sold him into slavery. A group of Catholic friars ended up freeing him, brought him to England, where he learned to speak English. In 1618, serving as an interpreter on an English ship, he was brought back to the New World. It was Squanto, who is a famous Native American in his own right in the Pilgrim story. It was Squanto who taught the Pilgrims how to plant, how to fish, how to skin beavers. It was Squanto who brokered a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and other Indian tribes. There was more than one tribe of Indians. It was not copacetic. It was not friendly and at one with nature. It was not anything like the multiculturalists would have you believe. There were squabbles, there were power struggles, turf battles. It was human. The Indians, the Pilgrims, everybody was scrambling for power, for survival. Survivability was the name of the game, and it was not guaranteed. Now, many of the Pilgrims literally believed that God had sent Squanto to save them. And they believe, Pilgrims believe, that without Squanto, they never would have survived or thrived. And they experienced a tremendous harvest in 1621. And that's the big gathering that is taught in the history books. The native Indians and the Pilgrims joined together for a huge feast, which is the foundational story of the Thanksgiving story that's taught in public schools. But again, that is not the real story of Thanksgiving. That's the textbook brain. It did happen, but it's so much more than that. And I love taking the opportunity every year to explain the truth, especially now, given how this election has apparently, allegedly fallen out. Because even as the Federalist side, this is so great that the story is spreading. One of the most important legacies of the early settlers is that they experimented with socialism in the 1620s and it did not work. Private property rights, personal responsibility saved the Plymouth colony from extinction and laid the economic foundation for the free and prosperous nation that we all enjoy today. And that is exactly right. And that is the true story of Thanksgiving. And that has been what we have shared with you every Thanksgiving for the past 31 years.
And you were back on the Andrew Gasser Show on 103.9 WYAB. These first couple segments, we decided to listen to the true story of Thanksgiving that Rush Limbaugh told us so graciously. And I'm young, but my parents would tell me all the time growing up that Rush was really a breath of fresh air. And his voice has been dearly missed, and just like Charlie's will be. And it's something we don't have, but all we can do is hopefully live up to their legacy the best that we can. And I think it's important because he was talking about the education aspect of it. And we really are taught in school of a sort of different story of Thanksgiving than what Rush just told us. And it's not really what happened. And I think that ties into things is the more that they try to dumb down education, and the more that they try to teach a different version of history from what actually happened, they start to shift the narratives of things, and that eventually shapes the future so that they can get their desired outcomes. And it's important for young people to hear the stories just like what Rush told us there, to get the real stories of history so that we can actually fight for our country and have a better future. And what can young people do to combat that? It's to think outside the box. Don't just listen to your teachers in school. Do your own independent education. Self-education is one of the most important things that you as a person can do, because for one, you get an outside perspective, but two, your brain starts to think. You form your own opinions, your own thoughts. And once you're able to do that, you become unstoppable. The human brain is something that we as humans don't understand, and I don't think we ever will. But it is the greatest weapon that we have been given, because it is capable of more than anything we can imagine. I remember learning in 9th grade biology how many billions of cells we have. And it's all controlled by this little thing on the top of our head. Just that's profound to think about. But getting young people do. And look, young people, I'm 17, I'm sitting in this chair right now. I'm here because I had help, not because of anything that I did. If our parents, whether it's Generation X, millennials are starting to get into it, even the boomers that are still clinging on to their power that they love. If you can help inspire, just like Brother Andrew does here, help inspire our youth to get involved, then this country is going to be on the right track. Whether that's stuff like Stand the Gap here in Central Mississippi, the Conservative Coalition across the state, Turning Point chapters at high schools, encourage your kids to get involved, because we have some big issues coming up in this country. I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford a home. I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford college. And unfortunately, these issues get worse every single day. And if we don't do something about that now, my future is going to be destroyed. My kids' futures will sure be destroyed. What kind of legacy do you want to leave as a parent or a grandparent? What kind of legacy do you want to leave for your country? So it is important, just as it was important for you whenever you were little to start to get your ideas and where you wanted to go. It is time for you to pass the torch so that this country can be a better place than when you found it. And if that's not your mindset, then I think you need to do a little bit of soul searching, because you should always want to leave something better than you found it. This country can be so great and so good.
Yep. So we've got a phone call right here. We're going to go ahead and answer that. Go ahead and hit that button right there.
No problem. You were live on the air.
All right.
Go ahead. What do you got to say?
Well, something that's on my mind that I believe is of utmost importance is a special election in Rankin County for the District 3 Justice Court judge.
Yes, ma'am.
We're only 6 days away, and I'm concerned with Thanksgiving tomorrow and then the weekend. It's going to be, people are going to forget. They get busy.
Absolutely.
And this race is of utmost importance because of our two runoff candidates, Adam Woods versus Tamara Bowie. And I don't know if your listeners are aware, both are attorneys, but Ms. Bowie was actually arrested on the 23rd of August of this year by the Pearl Police Department
Wow.
for the offense of driving under the influence and simple assault.
And that's someone
That's
who's
a
running
major-
to be a judge in Rankin County.
That's a major concern to me, a major
I
concern.
think it should be a major concern to everybody that you have someone who's running for a judge position who was arrested for DUI not even a few months ago.
Exactly, while she was campaigning. Now, granted, she has not been convicted yet. Nevertheless, one who hopes to enforce the law should also obey the law. We need
Amen.
leaders by example.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to call and remind your voters who are in District 3, and if they're not sure, there was a lot of confusion during the primary. People went to vote that thought they could vote, they could not. Some people who were able to vote did not vote because they didn't know. This is a special election. Unfortunately, we had like an 8% turnout.
Wow.
8%.
8%.
Is that not pathetic?
It is pathetic. And unfortunately, we see that all the time. Is it just people just don't turn out to vote and then they start complaining about how things are going? Well, you need to get out to vote before you start complaining.
Now, I realize in this instance, it was because it was a special election. Although there was a lot of campaigning done, there initially started with 4 candidates, Adam Woods, Jeff Arnold, and the prediction was a runoff between those 2 men. And then 2 women, Tamara Bowie, and I'm sorry, I don't recall the name of the other woman.
Yeah.
But Tamara and Adam come on the top, and it it's just critical out.
Yes, ma'am.
If we
Absolutely.
want Rankin County to remain conservative, to remain strict on law.
Absolutely.
Because Miss Bowie said at a Mississippi Bar Association meeting that she didn't think she could put anyone in jail.
And that's concerning if you're running to be a judge.
Is that not like stunning, like unbelievable? Like, what does she want to do? I mean,
Right.
I don't understand.
Yes, ma'am.
So anyway, my call was simply to call and ask and if your voters in Rankin County don't know where they vote, I would like to give the number of the circuit clerk's office.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rankin County Circuit Clerk is 601-825-1466.
Yes, ma'am.
All you do is call, give them your name, and what district am I in, and by all means, if you're in 3, get to the polls.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and what are y'all doing to get out the vote? What are y'all doing to get out the vote?
We'll be doing walking on Saturday.
Awesome.
Of course, Adam has had signs out. He's had flyers out. But I'm thinking we're going to have to take the old-fashioned, which I love, going door to door. I just think I just love the personal effect. But if people cannot get to the polls for any reason, legitimate reason, on the 2nd, this Saturday, the circuit clerk's office will be open from 8 until noon for absentee voting.
Awesome.
It's the last day to vote absentee before the election.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting us know.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you to Miss Monica for calling us in this morning. And we do have still special elections this upcoming Tuesday here in Rankin County. And I'm sure there's some across the state elsewhere. But yeah, 2 important races, that judge race in District 3 of Rankin County, Adam Woods and Tamara Bowie. Adam Woods needs to win that seat so that we have a conservative attorney as our judge there, someone who can put people in jail and someone who abides by the law. And also District 2, Rankin County, has a supervisor's race, special election. Daryl Palmer and Phil Scoggin are running for that race. DP is my dude, but I probably can't talk about everything on the radio. But yeah, so Tuesday, make sure y'all get out to vote and tell people if you know anybody in those areas. So Rankin County, let your people know, get out and vote, because we still have a state that needs to have good people in office. Yeah, back to what we were talking about with the young people. And, these special elections, in my opinion, are good for young people to sort of get their feet wet into politics. get a good understanding of campaigning, and it's a really good way for them to get involved. But anyways, just you need to find parents, grandparents need to find a way to help our youth get involved. Don't discourage them, empower them. Because the younger that we get involved, the more prepared we're going to be for whatever they throw at us. And Lord knows that they throw a lot.
Yep. And just one other thing real quick here, as I feel like I'm flying into AWACS again, and I've got my student AWO sitting there, and he's or she's going ahead and doing her thing, and I'm just standing behind there, watching what they're doing, paying attention, but really letting you run the flow. But the other thing I would say is if you don't know, if you forget the number to the clerk, because I don't have that, you can always go get in your favorite search browser, type in Mississippi My Election Day, Mississippi My Election Day. It will come up and it'll ask you for your zip code, and then you start typing in your address. It will populate. It will then tell you what precinct you live in. If you have any upcoming elections, it's another great tool. And the truth of the matter is that if everybody within Rankin County who's listening to this show right now gets out and votes on Tuesday, we're going to be all right. We're going to have a great election. And you know, you can use this time to start bringing your kids to the polls. I'll remember when my mom was voting in 1980 for president. I'll never forget it. They let me go into the poll with my mom. I watched my mom vote, and we went from there. Hey, we got another caller. Let's try to take that last call right there. Go. Oh. Yep, they decided they were going to blast off. Hey, Blake, why don't you go ahead and kick the last commercial break?
That's right. We're going to have one more break, and then we'll have a 2-minute segment or so, and then that'll unfortunately conclude our time. But you were listening to 103.9 WYAB. And we are back on 103.9 WYAB for our last segment here.
We are back.
Brother Andrew, I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, especially these last few days.
Yeah,
You've
man.
always asked me at the end of the shows, what do I have to say? What do you have to say right before Thanksgiving?
You know, I'm 53 years old. I am so grateful and thankful just to be producing carbon, man. And, it's one of those things where the joy of the Lord is good. You might be going through some trials and tribulations in life. You might have some really tough things going on right now. But, man, is it good to be an American? Is it good to be alive? And I'm just grateful and thankful that this Thanksgiving, I'm going to be spending it with my family and friends. We are going to be eating some BA Farm turkey. Oh, it's going to be delicious. It's going to be delicious. And, it's just one of those things where it's time for us it's the holidays, right? We're supposed to enjoy the family. Don't be doing any of this leftist crazy stuff where they're like, if your mom or your dad likes Trump, don't go spend Thanksgiving with them. Get out of town. Can't you see that is a sign of the wicked and the evil? Evil always wants to have us all break apart. Fellowship is so critical in life, whether it's fellowship with your family, your friends, your church, your RC model airplane club, if that's what it is. So that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for my kids. I'm thankful for Andrew, Austin, Noah, and Toots McCracken. We don't say Toots McCracken's name on the air. And I'm thankful for my beautiful sweet bee. Those are some of the things I'm thankful for. How about you, man? What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for God. I'm thankful for my family. And I'm thankful that we get to live in this country and we get to have freedom.
Yeah, man.
And I can't wait for Thanksgiving to get to eat a lot of food, watch some football. But yeah, it's a day that I wish we honestly had more of, where we just, sat down and actually thought about what we're thankful for.
Yep.
And really reflect on what God has given us. And just be forever grateful for that.
Yep.
Be forever grateful that we've been given life. That life is one of the most precious gifts. It is the most precious gift that we have been given. And we've turned it into into what it is. But it just, we need more of it, where we just sit back and reflect on what we are thankful for, because, you may feel like you don't have a lot and you may be going through some struggles, but we still have so much.
We do. We are in America. And like I was trying to explain to people the other day, people are like, oh, I'm poor. I really wish those people who are complaining that they're poor and they don't understand, go to Afghanistan for about a month, or go to Somalia for a month, or go to Honduras for a month, and you will see true poverty.
Right.
I mean, there's real poverty here in Mississippi. I'm not arguing that, but you go to Honduras and it's that kind of poverty times 10.
Absolutely.
And today's going to be a great day. We're going out to lunch.
Yeah, we are.
Brother Philip, Brother Jeff.
Gonna be there.
And
be wild.
Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and as Blake goes ahead and hits the outro music, I just want to say one thing. I'm going to be watching football too, but not this NFL, fam. Arsenal is back. We smoked Tottenham. We stuck it to them 4-1 at the Emirates, fam. We are back. Arsenal, number 1 in the EPL. We are number 1 in Europe. And people are like, Arsenal football, what are you talking about? That's the real football, fam. None of these, oh, you hit me in the head. Oh, no. Real stuff. I'm excited. Blake, thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you. And until we meet again on the radio, take care, everybody. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. We'll be back.